We like, we sing this song, "We three kings of Orient are, trying to smoke a rubber cigar. It was loaded and exploded." Or there's some, various versions of the song. The problem is they're kind of all wrong because there weren't necessarily three of them. They weren't kings and they weren't Oriental, right? Actually, the word magi just means wise men. And if you think back, you know the story of Daniel in the lion's den? Anybody? Daniel, he was, the Israelites had been disobedient to God and unfaithful, and so God drove them out of the Holy Land, and they were basically in captivity. And so while they were in captivity, Daniel served the king as an advisor. And the other advisors tricked the king into making a law that you couldn't pray to the real God. And Daniel was like, well, I'm going to go pray anyway. So he went home, he opened his windows, and he just kept right on praying, got thrown in the lion's den, and God delivered him. Well, this council that served the king, these wise men, these advisors, these were the Magi. And so Daniel was actually in this group, in the kingdom during the time of the Persians and the Babylonians who then conquered them. And then at the time of Jesus, that same area, which today is Iran, was the center of a kingdom known as Parthia. And for a while, the Romans had conquered some of it, and then the Parthians had taken a lot of the land back and was really the rival empire to the Romans at the time of Christ. And so the Magi who came were actually some of these same advisors. Just generations later, the same guys who would have been serving with Daniel, they were experts in science, experts in the stars, experts in religions and religions of different kinds, and reading different religions' prophecies to find out what was going on. And so these guys were the guys who came and they said, hey, we saw his star and we have come to worship this King of the Jews. So they were the highest ranking group of advisors. And the reason I want to mention this is because they weren't kings themselves, but they were advisors to the king. And not just to any king, but they were the advisors to the King of Kings. Because at the time of Darius or Cyrus or these different Old Testament kings, these were not just, kings who ruled over a city or a small area. They ruled over other kings. And so that's why they were called the King of Kings, because they were the grand poobah, as Fred Flintstone would say. They were the top dog. They were the king of all the other kings, because travel in those days was painfully slow. And so a king did not rule over, a region of land like the United States or even Iowa, but it would just be like maybe a county. And then there'd be another king in the next county and another king in the next county. But the king that these Magi served was the king over all of them. Right? Like today, we have our president who presides over the federal government, and the federal government is over all the state and the local governments, all that stuff. Well, this is who the Magi served. And so when they saw this star rise, this star was not just telling them that a king was born, but what they understood from the star was that a new King of Kings had just been born. And so because these were the people who served the King of Kings, whoever was in power at the time, whether it was, like I said, during the kingdom of the Persians, they served that one. When Babylon conquered them, they still served the king of all the kings. Then in the days of the Parthians, they served the king of all the kings. And so when they saw this star in the heavens, they knew that another shift was coming, another kingdom was going to take over, and so they wanted to come align themselves with the new King of all kings so that they would be in their place to continue to advise and serve the ultimate.